Bet they both gon' clear the scene. Watch me do 100 miles per hour when the light turn green. You know you can't ride with us if you can't show the bubble beat. Once you hit a revving on the engine, you know what that means. Red car, yellow truck, bet they both gon' clear the scene. Watch me do 100 miles per hour when the light turn green. You know you can't ride with us if you can't show the bubble beat. Once you hit a revving on the engine, you know what that means.
All right, y'all, so this is the 2014. It's got the 3.6 in it. So the only thing we pulled already was just this here, and all it is you unscrew right there, flathead, or you can put your socket on there if you choose. Yep, I've unplugged all the connectors. So here, right here, pulled off the vacuum line, the line here as well. Oh, this one right here was on the back. Let's see, what else am I getting ready to do now? Oh, I pulled off all these clips because right here is a stud going through, which you won't be able to lift the top of the intake off. And then there's one more right down here. I'd already pulled them off, and then all of a sudden I decided, oh, I should be recording this, so I apologize. But to take the top of the intake off, so you see you got 1, 2, 3, 4, then there should be 5, 6, and there should be one more, which would be 7, which is going to be back there. Get those 7 off, I can lift this off, and then I'll show you all the next step, which for me is going to be probably disconnecting the lines, the injector, the power for the injector, just disconnecting those. All right, y'all. Now, if you look, there is a stud. I'm gonna show y'all. See, this is the throttle body. Go back behind, there's a stud, and you can see. So you want to pull this out and then unbolt that, and then you can remove this bracket. You'll be able to lift the whole top of the intake once you loosen all 7 of these. There's the other one hidden in there. All right. Okay, so when y'all lift this thing up, you're not going to be able to lift it straight up. Let me show you what I mean. See here? You see a stud here? This stud. And then there's also one back here. They actually go through. I can show you this bracket right here. So you can't lift straight up. What you got to do is you lift this end and then you pull out that way, and it'll come right off. All right, guys, very, very, very important. Once you remove the upper intake, as you see, I just picked it up and moved it and set it off to the side. So what we gotta do is we need to take a rag or something and stuff down so that you don't get no trash or drop nothing down inside, because this will wind up right down inside of your heads, you know, and you get trash and stuff down inside of your heads, you're gonna have to pull the heads and all that stuff, and you'll be fishing for dirt and muck and all that, because you definitely don't want to put it back together. You know, take care of your peoples, or take care of yourself, whoever you're doing the job for. You know what I mean? So as you see, I got my rags. I'm stuffing them now. Now after I get done stuffing the rags in, I'm gonna pull all these lines right here. There's a little clip. You just pop the clip up, and then you'll be able to disconnect the intake. I said intake, I'm sorry. Disconnect the injectors. And I'm just gonna pull this side. I don't need to take them off of the heads. All right, and then you got 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, and you can just lift this off. And you got 4, 5, and 6. And that'll do it. Once you do those, then you can take off 1, 2, and just keep working your way back. Do not remove these. You'll know if you're removing the wrong thing because you got to have that special star tool. If you're moving the right ones, it's going to be that same 8mm. These are for your fuel rail. Some people do disconnect the fuel rail and all that stuff. I don't need to. I'm just going to take the bottom of the intake, lift it, and flip it over to get to the gaskets and just sit it to the side just a little. All right, so now I'll show y'all what I mean. Okay, just wanted to show you guys a little bit. So when you pulling off the power for the injectors, so you see this little red clip here, it's usually pushed down. So you can either take a pick or flathead screwdriver. What you have to do first is pop this up. Once you pop this up, see that black tab? You're going to want to push in on that black tab and pull up. So for me, I'll be honest with you guys, the easiest way to do it was use the pick. I plucked that up with the pick, and then I took the flathead screwdriver, pushed on here, and kind of like did it in an upward angle, and it just released right off. These here, you just want to push. See that black tab there? Push down on that black tab, slide it right out, and then that'll do that for you. And just in case you cannot find all of the bolts that's holding down the lower, so here's one. Shoot, drop my light. All right. Okay, so let's start on this side actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then look all the way back there, right by where your the gas inlet is. Look right there. Boom. And then at that rate, you should be able to pick this up like so. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift it up, flip it over so I can get to the bottom gaskets, and we should be able to see the oil cooler at that rate. All right, guys, so I lifted that up. There's the bottom. There's your gaskets at the bottom of the intake, so those are your lowers. So we're gonna replace those. As you see, those are the ones with the extra little dip. They're not just oval. And there's 6 of those, obviously. I just kind of got it sitting up right now because there's really no need for me to, like I said, disconnect everything. I try not to disconnect if I don't have to. So as you see, got to clean up all around here, all this dirt and stuff. You just want to make sure that doesn't fall down inside your intake there. That's the importance of the rags. So what I'll do now that I have that up, I don't have to worry about the lower intake, anything falling in the motor. I'm going to take those rags off, put those rags down in here, in these 6 holes, and clean it all up real good. And then we can, this is the housing. This is where the filter goes. This is the actual cooler, but there's a whole big unit that's going to come up. And there's 5 bolts holding that down. And let's see, can I get you guys some light? Oh, there we go. All right, so you see 1, 2. Let's see, there's 1, 2. And where you hiding that? Oh, there it is. So 3, 4, and 5. And then you can see the oil down in there where it's running before I even remove the part. You see all that oil down there. Try to get it better. I'm sure y'all can see it down in here, right down in there, all that oil down there. It's a good amount of oil down in there. And what's happening is it's running down down. There's actually oil under it. You can see it a little bit if you look under that brass. Right there, you see some shiny. It's running to the back and it's winding up all over top of the trans and everything. And what it's doing, see there's some there. What it's doing is it's making it look like the rear main seal is gone. But it's just this cooler. I can see the oil all around it. Yep. Alright. So we'll get to before I pull the cooler, I'm gonna drain the coolant from the radiator, which right down here is gonna be a plug that I'll turn right down here on the side of the radiator, and then there's a hose underneath. Let's see if I can show you. I don't have the car jacked up just yet, but there's the hose. That's where the coolant's going to come out of. I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 up in there just to make sure that the O-ring that's on the O-ring that's on the plug itself doesn't get binded up or anything when I go to undo it. Like I said, you always want to take the extra precautions. Might be overkill, but hey, better to be safe than sorry, right? All right. Okay, guys. So got it pretty clean. We get ready to go ahead and pull the cooler. Now, before I start pulling the cooler, because the cooler has oil going through it and it also has coolant, we do need to drain the coolant. So, like I said, if we can look down, I'm up top, and I'm gonna show y'all, you can actually reach it from above, right here, where my finger is the drain plug. Hey, come on. There we go. So right there. So just reach down here and lefty loosey. Oh, hey, that works. I might be able to. Trying to see if I can break this loose, guys, without. I'm sorry about the bad camera. Trying to do everything. I might have to put some pliers on it or something like that, but I'm gonna pop that loose. It'll start draining. I'm gonna fill up at least a pan. After I fill up the pan, I'm gonna see if that's enough to have lowered it down in the motor to where when I pull this, I don't get so much fluid. All right. Okay, so now that I want y'all to see this. See that star?
Come on, buddy. Come on.
So you'll need a specialty tool, unless you're gonna try stripping it out with like a 6mm. I do hear that you can use a 12 point on it, and the 12 point will work just fine. These clips here are easy. Just push the red up. Boom, that's that. Then you push this down, pop that off, done. There's one more under there. Do that same thing. There is a coolant line right here. I'm gonna pick up the cooler, then take that line off. It's just gonna be a lot easier than trying to work in that small little space. All right, so just to show y'all, there, if you look down there, look at all this oil. So it's probably about 2 quarts of oil down there, and there's actually a knock sensor right there. It's just covered in oil.
Oil saturated this connector and everything. Right there.
And this is a common thing on these 3.6 pentastars. But if you want to do the upgrade, you want to wait until it becomes a problem, that's fine. But if you want to kind of be counteractive with it, this is the issue. This plastic housing here. They do sell the aluminums. The aluminums, you wouldn't have any issues. It's when you go to put this cap back on, people are doing it too tight. Even in the shops, they might put your gun on there, impact on it too much, too fast. You spin it. So usually what we try to do is we try to lube the inside. And once we lube it up a little bit, you do it by hand. Hand tighten it. I mean, as tight as you can just with your hand. Don't just get it down and be like, all right, it's hand tight. Get it as tight as you can. And then you do just maybe a quarter turn, if that. Just a, and it should be nice. Because it's an O-ring. And if you guys know anything about O-rings, O-rings don't need all that extra super tightness to it. And it's just where your oil filter is. And it's going upward. So it doesn't take a whole lot. But that's the number one reason why, where it fails is right in that cap itself. So we'll be sitting here trying to get this oil out.
And that applies to not just these, but it also applies to the Chrysler 300.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the Jeeps.
Mm-hmm.
So on and so on. I got a BMW the same way. I learned my lesson the hard way, and I over-tightened that, like Baron was saying. You don't need to over-tighten it. That O-ring is there for a reason. Hand tight, maybe a quarter turn with a wrench, and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
It's a plastic filter housing.
And this is the new one, folks. So we're just gonna wind up putting the coolant line goes here, connect the sensors, lay it back in, tighten her up. I'll let y'all see that. It's just the 5 bolts, and that's it. You're one step closer to being done with your project. Look at all this oil, guys. This isn't even coming. That's not from us like draining it. That's just us trying to get it from on top of the motor up there. And that's not even half of what's in there. So, like I said, y'all could wait until it becomes a problem, or y'all could try to be counteractive. The tool, the part you can get for $150 or so. I mean, an aluminum one, and go ahead and just get it done. Take care of it. Just knock it out, because it'll save you all of this.
Yes. Chasing.
Yep, because I'm going to tell you.
Customer came in saying her oil pan gasket was leaking.
Yep. Thought she cracked her oil pan.
Yep.
Nope. Then I'm sure someone else, actually when I was talking to the customer, I mentioned to them about the rear main seal. Someone had told them that they needed a rear main seal. The reason being is all that oil there was going back and falling behind the motor on top of the trans. So that's what I'm saying, guys. You take it to a shop, they tell you it's a rear main seal. You take it into the shop, they go ahead and change your oil cooler. Never mess with your rear main seal, which is a lot more work. Charge you for the rear main seal, and all they did was change your oil cooler.
And especially being a female, I'm sorry to say, that's how most shops run, but they're going to triple charge you and tell you more things are wrong than what are.
Absolutely.
So we're just trying to look out for you. We love what we do. But look, this is laying. It was, the sensors were just, look at the sensor. There's a sensor here, and it was just, oil was over it all. There's probably about 1.5 quarts of oil sitting here just in the valley.
And like I always say, guys, I'm no mechanic. I just like to play with cars. Alright, just want y'all to see what it should have looked like when we picked that thing up. How deep it should have been. But this is just to show y'all, like, this is pretty deep down there, man. If I had to give my measurement, my eye calibrator says it's about 3 inches or so. Yep. and that's below the cooler. So if you're starting to see it up to the cooler, then you already got a ton of oil under there. You already missed out.
Dude.
Next step, guys. Connected the coolant line, the two sensors. And what that is your oil temp and oil pressure sensor right there. And then you just gotta go back, tighten up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, I'm going to put these in like I'm torquing down a head. You know, I'm going to go across, you know, that way. Because anything that's going to be long like that, you always want to do it because you don't want to warp it, you know, by tightening down one side too much and all that good stuff. So I'm going to hand tighten everything down first, and then I'm going to torque it down. And the torque specs on that, I believe, is like around 7 or 9.
8.
It is 8? Okay, I knew it. What I say, around 7 or 9?
Yep.
So right in the middle of 7 and 9 is 8. So there you go. So we're going to get this down, and I'll show you the next step. All right, guys, so there's the new gaskets in place. As you see, they're blue, so there's no question whether we changed them or not. The ones we took out were those white ones, and they were flattened, and you can see how these are sticking out. All right, now check this out, guys. This is when you use stop leak. Let's see if it does it. Well, that side wasn't as bad, but it just turns into this real gummy, nasty mess. And when you gotta work on it and work with it, it just becomes, you know, it's just hard to clean up and stuff like that. Then you gotta think it'll clog injectors and all types of ports, because it's almost like string cheese. Yep. Like you're eating a mozzarella stick or something, man.
Yep. Look at this. Look.
Yeah.
So do not use stop leak.
Pizzeria in the motor.
If you start using this and continue to, you're eventually going to have injector issues, and you're going to wonder why your car runs like shit. Look at that.
Yeah, so you just want to be careful. A lot of people do it, and it's nothing against, you know, people that do it. I wouldn't suggest it.
No.
So next we just gonna lay this down. Once we get done cleaning up a little bit, we lay that down, torque the bolts down. We'll go ahead and I'll show y'all the top side. All right, guys. So as you see, we've laid the bottom portion of the intake down. So the lower, it's the proper way to say it. So you want to tighten down your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 is back there. I've already hand tightened them down, so now we're going to torque them down. We're going to torque them down to 8, and that'll be that. Then we'll go ahead and pop these gaskets out, replace those with the new ones, wipe off the surface area of the bottom of the upper, lay it down, torque it down, and I'll show you the next step. All right, y'all, so we just laid the lower intake down, and just go ahead and connect your injectors, your power for your injectors. Go ahead and get that all snapped back in, because now once you start laying everything down, you're not going to be able to go back and connect it once you do that. So I'll come to this side. It's the same. You just push these on, push the red lock down, and that's it. Now here we're gonna clean up some of this just regular dust and dirt from driving. Pull these gray gaskets out, put these blue ones in. We got Felpro. Clean this up, lay it down, torque it down. All right, y'all, as you see, we got the good old Felpro gaskets in place. They're double-sided, so it doesn't matter up or down which way you put them in. And you know the difference between the uppers and the lower is because the lowers, they actually have an extra like kick out on them. They're not perfectly shaped like this is. All right. So now, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and connect the injectors. Once the injectors are already snapped on, I'm gonna go ahead and lay the upper on, and we can pretty much get ready to wrap this thing up, get the coolant back in the system, and change the oil, and that's it. Forgot to add just a real quick note, guys. Don't forget to put your little pad back, you know, so that actually sits up underneath here, which stops this from banging up, you know, on top of the head and stuff like that. So don't forget to keep your pad and put your pad back. All right, so what we did, folks, was just laid her over. Let me back up. All right, so what we did was we just laid her over. Now we just gotta put back the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You tighten those down. Go ahead and connect all your throttle body, vacuum lines, and all that, and then you're done with everything you gotta do up top. And then I'll show you what you do with the coolant. It's a cool little trick. I forgot all about that too.
Yep, I did too until she just said something. Yep, we got that taken care of as well.
All right, guys, so back here, remember to get this stud put back in and tight. Remember that stud holds this bracket, and this bracket holds the top on. So all you have to do, don't worry about the nuts that's on it here. And there's one more back in the back. Just pop that. What you got to do is you got to pop this off. See that little plastic right there? That slides on it. So you got to slide that back. I use my needle nose. I slid it back. And then I use a 13 millimeter. And as you know, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Pop that off. The whole stud comes out. This nut doesn't come off of it. The whole stud comes out. And when you tighten it up, you tighten the whole stud. And you take this. Once it's tight, and you should be able to. I'm sorry, guys, about the camera. But here we go. See how that slides on there? That takes care of that. Then you have this vacuum line here goes on the top. This line just slides on to the side of the throttle body. You can't get these wrong because these are the only two connectors left. And there's no way for you to take this connector and plug it up here, or this connector and accidentally plug it there. They only go one way. So I'll show you how quick and easy that is. Done. Then take this one. I'm sorry. Done. Now it does have little clips that you'll want to clip on, like right there. Alright. Clips are back on. This clip is back on. Alright, so we put your lock in. Alright, so we're all locked up. We got this last little connection here that needs to plug right there. That's for your IAT, your intake air tips. So this will just slide on to here, slide there, and that's it. All right, peoples, if you got this far, basically you do your oil change procedures. So if you put a new cooler on, it should have come with a new filter. If not, go ahead and make sure you got that in there. But you shouldn't have to worry about that. This one came with the filter, so I don't have to worry about that part of the oil change. So really all I'm doing is just going underneath to the oil pan, popping the one plug out, drain the oil, put the plug back in,
13 millimeter.
Yeah, it's a 13 millimeter plug. Just to let you guys know. Go ahead and fill your oil. 520. Now, the next step, the other thing anyway, it doesn't matter which order you kind of do this, but as long as you do it before you get done with the job, is right, you see, right here, you're going to take a Phillips and you're going to open this valve. Now, right behind this valve, that's where your water jacket and all that stuff is. So all you got to do is open that up, start pouring your coolant in here. Once your coolant starts to come out of this valve, you start seeing it drip out, then you know the system is full. That's your bleeder valve. Makes it real simple.
Red car, yellow truck, bet they both gon'